20, Takunda Benhura. Jersey number 21, God Knows Maruira. And jersey number 23, Richard Hachiro. On the bench, wearing jersey number 1, Mali Tavaziva. Jersey number 3, Tinotenda Meki. Donald Mudadi, Juan Mutuza, Tatenda Tavengwa. Jersey number 9, Neva Rudzai. Jersey number 16, Shimarashe Chinani. Jersey number 17, Ishenesu Mauchi. Jersey number 18, Joey Puti. And wearing jersey number 19, Michael Tapira. And ladies and gentlemen, Zimbabwe is coached by head coach Jairus Tapera. Take it away, DJ.
Music.
Who's in the child figati? Makona machaifa. Awal pitala. Chaifa machaifa, the chaifa pukoyo chaifa. Ladies and gentlemen, the match officials for this match, the referee is Lebalang Mukiti from Lesotho. The assistant referee is Tembo Pondamali from Malawi. And the second assistant referee is Estanislao Prata from Angola. And the fourth official is Ondefetra Rakoto Joana from Madagascar.
Yeah, iwile so isile phaya but mama ifake ngapha angayibeki ifake ngapha akabheza ne so I'm getting bored. That's all. I think it's it's easy, no, for me.
Hi.
KG. Standing by KG, make number 2.
No, working it in the next second. You've been coming to me for a while now. That's why I gave away this. Uyabona bayawalk abantwana. No, I still can't. Abani bantwana? Abani bantwana? Abani yena.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the national teams of Kenya and Zimbabwe.
Teams are working out.
Third Hollywoodbets COSAFA Cup ride where fantasies are realized and stars are born. On the menu this noon is a Group B feud between Kenya and Zimbabwe, the second most successful nation this tournament has ever seen, and a nation in search for a much more prosperous future. It's the 14th duel of this regional tournament, and after a knackering club season, the COSAFA Cup is the ideal icing on what has been a tremendously fulfilling season for a football fanatic. And this finale in this Group B should be a classic between Kenya and Zimbabwe. But first, time for the national anthems.
The singing of the national anthem of Kenya. And now the national anthem of Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe are the only nation left in this engrossing COSAFA Cup with a 100% record still intact. Snuffing out the light of the Harambee Stars would be a fair warning to those that desire COSAFA Cup glory. In Kenya, they are the guests at the 23rd COSAFA Cup. Think of them as the wild card inclusion. A wild card with a thirst and ambition to disrupt the status quo and usurp the axis of power that has had a stronghold over this tournament for almost 22 years. And within that axis of power stands Zimbabwe, just behind Zambia. And there's a palpable sense of equanimity within the Zimbabwean ranks. However, they should be wary of a cohort that can produce an upset on any given day. Just ask the Copper Bullets of Zambia. Kenya are not just about grit and style, but their play does have a lot of substance to it. And after the Kenyans sprung the biggest upset in recent COSAFA Cup history, they were brought back down to earth against Comoros. They may have lost 2-0, but there is one big caveat. The Kenyans played the better of an hour with only 10 men on the field. It's a big match. Zimbabwe in the lead of this group. As for Kenya, one would think that they have to avoid defeat in order to have any kind of shot of making it into the semi-final stage. Now, the COSAFA Cup tournament has undergone some format modifications over the years. This will be the second COSAFA Cup that excludes quarterfinals. The format is rather simple and effective. There are 3 groups. The top 3 nations of each group, including the best runner-up, will gain passage into the final 4. Question is, who can join Zimbabwe in this topsy-turvy group that Kenya have found themselves in? They are outsiders and relative strangers to the southern region's football style. But the pressing question is, will that COSAFA Cup inexperience surface, or is there to be another seismic shock to crack Group B wide open? The past 2 editions of this tournament were held in the much warmer climate that Durban provides. This time we're along the eastern shoreline of South Africa again, just a little bit further down south in the windy city. And as for Kenya and Zimbabwe, they'll have to negotiate these conditions to good effect in order to leave a real meaningful impact on Group B and produce a performance worthy of 3 points. So it looks like the stage is set. Zimbabwe in the yellow, Kenya in the green. And the COSAFA Cup's tournament's return to this neck of the woods has enthused many a football fanatic, and a few of the locals here have made their way into the Isaac Wilson Stadium, hoping for a gripping encounter between Kenya and Zimbabwe. The group of officials for this one represent a host of different nationalities that include Lesotho, Malawi, Angola and Madagascar. The lead official for this one is Mr. Lebelang Martin Mokete. Just a few seconds shy till impact, and here we go. Kenya taking on Zimbabwe for a place in the final 4. Kennedy Odhiambo has really shuffled his pack appropriately. Ochuoga attracted a red card against Comoros, so he is out and replaced at left fullback by Ogilo. Ahono and Wanjala continue their centre-half partnership with Chris Otieno stationed just ahead, playing in that central defensive midfield role for Kenya. And the Kenyan captain Onyango and Benson Ochieng are the only attackers to have started every group match for Odhiambo's side. As for the Zimbabwean team news, Michael Tapera has been a standout warrior for Zimbabwe. He's netted twice in this tournament, but Zimbabwe will have to find a goal someplace else because Tapera is sidelined due to suspension, picking up 2 yellow cards, therefore a red against Comoros. Here's Mapua, set to play on the left-hand side of a midfield 3, can slot in a little bit deeper to help the likes of Jalai and Hachiro. It's a very nice take from Banda, and then eventually out from Pitisi, who has been in remarkable form for Zimbabwe, has the goalkeeper Pitisi. And the Stellenbosch goalkeeping coach Parnell McCopp has done tremendous work with Pitisi over the course of this tournament, and he really has helped further the career and improve the skill level of Sage Stevens for Stellenbosch. Here's Umondi, goes to Wanjala, then his centre-half partner Ahono. Looked incredibly sturdy against the Zambians, did Ahono. Very physical defender. And here he goes again, choosing the wiser, safer option. Zimbabwe inch closer to the Kenyan goal mouth. Both sides are in need of a quick start here this afternoon. Here's Jalai, he's come forward to take in this throw-in for Zimbabwe. Might just be a matter of time before the Warriors start to find their groove. That's over to Banda's flank. He hooks it to Mutimbanyoka. It's a good run initially from Mushore. Oh, it's all the way back to Hativagoni. Muhwira wearing the captain's armband for Zimbabwe for this clash. Tried an ambitious switch towards the right-hand side of the field. Just too harsh with the pass. Now, there hasn't been a great deal of time for either set of tactical minds to construct their teams according to an ideal image. Zimbabwe proved after their 2 victories, and Kenya the same after their upset win over Zambia, that a simple defense-like approach is best suited to tournament football, to COSAFA Cup football. Otieno has his pocket picked. Kenya win it back though. Here's Onyango. He has some space in which to maneuver. On the overlap is Omija. Here he is. And back to Otieno. Great understanding between those 3. Decent ball to the far side of the field. Gathered by Kitseo. But according to the linesman, the ball just trickled out of play. Good stuff from Kenya so far. Enterprising movement. And promising move, really. Not a bad pass attempted by Omija. They just have to be very precise in the final third, do the Kenyans. Zimbabwe have not conceded in this COSAFA Cup, so it will take something rather special and calculated to usurp their defense. And Zimbabwe can click into gear in next to no time. Here they go. Ben-Hura. And it looks like they've won a corner. First corner of the encounter falls to the Zimbabweans. They really do possess a few towering figures within their ranks, do the Warriors. And Muriwa presides over this corner, what is said to be an outswinger. Mixed approach, defensive approach being applied here from Kenya. Man-to-man marking, but also some zonal marking in the box. It's a really useful ball. Mutimbanyoka, he recycles it to Muriwa, this time with a left boot. Kenya can't get it away, they eventually do so. Onyongo doing the defending for the Kenyans. Muriwa again. First time ball into the box. That's a really good flick on header. The volley attempted is miscued. Another shot comes in, another good block from Onyango. No foul, says the referee from Lesotho. Good pressure being applied here from the men in that bright yellow. And it's got the crowd going as well. First real meaningful and menacing attack either side has produced. And enough bodies, green bodies at the back for Kenya. Nyongo is a tremendous attacker, but he is also quite a useful defender, is the Kenyan captain. Here's Jalai. Takes it quick, takes it short. Now for many, Zimbabwe are the favourites to go on and win this year's COSAFA Cup. Exemplified by the fact that Zambia are sure to make their way out of the tournament. Here's Omondi, just scanning the options that lay ahead of him. Decides to go short to Wanjala. Very high press being applied here by the Zimbabweans. They're really good at forcing the issue and forcing mistakes from the opposition. Here's Mushore on the half turn. Mushore again. Hachiro. Really good at retaining and moving the ball are the Zimbabweans. Better than most nations we've witnessed so far at this year's COSAFA Cup. It's a good touch into space from Jalai. And equally handy from Mapua. As more trickle into the stadium, Zimbabwe are slowly starting to find their feet in this encounter. The Kenyans are just off the pace that ever so slightly. Rua. This time he gets it horribly wrong. The Zimbabweans are intimately aware of the benchmark they themselves have set in past chapters of this tournament. And so often in tournament football, national teams are hostages to fate, but Zimbabwe always seem to be in control when it comes to COSAFA Cups. Took a challenge from Ben Huru. Now Mija. It's all about confidence for the Kenyans. If they wish to defeat Zimbabwe, let alone score the first goal against the Zimbabweans at this year's COSAFA Cup. Here's Omondi.
Then you stay here. When the ball go out,
The midfield so far seems to be a tad disjointed for the men in green. That's better though, from Kitseo. Now Ogilo, the switch was on. Not delivered, however. Here's Wanjala for Kenya. Then Atieno scored that simple tap in against Zambia the other night after a really good run into the box. Here's Kitseo. He loses out to Moshore. Jalai. Good intricate passing from the Zimbabweans. Accuracy so far superior to that of the Kenyans. Ruira. Here's Hativangoni, confronted by Kitseo. Ruira gets it wrong again. Here's the distributor from deep for Zimbabwe. And their attack can be described as a licorice all sorts kind of bag. That being Zimbabwe, they can go short, they can go long. They do have runners in behind and very good visionaries in the middle of the park. Here's Banda. Benhura went to ground in the box. Zimbabwe continue. And Kenya continue their defense. Banda backtracks. Here's Hativangoni. Oh, his target was Mapua. He was just sandwiched between those two Kenyan defenders, Ahono and Wanjala. Here's Omondi. Now that press has forced a major mistake from Wanjala. He's placed his goalkeeper under tremendous amount of pressure, and good pressing work from Mapua. And good recovery from Omondi to give Zimbabwe a throw instead of a corner kick. There's Banda again. Will he go long? Or will he go much shorter this time? He goes deep into the box. Out for Momija. And now Kenya are on the move, on the counter-attack. Onyango, two in advance. He picks out one. That being Kitseo. And he just couldn't get past the Zimbabwean captain. Great shepherding work from him. A tough defender to beat. Loves the 1v1 battles. And so does Kitseo. So that should be a gripping battle for the remainder. Here's Ben-Hura. Haven't seen too much of him so far. Mureremba. But too much of a heavy touch. And Kenya are forced to try and play out from the back, and they'll settle for a goal kick. Group B is the first group that will be finalized, but later on do strap in for a thrilling ride when Group A and C reaches its climax. Unbelievably, all the nations in Group A are stuck on 2 points, which is quite a rare sight. And as for Group C, after the first round of matches, all the 4 nations in that group also tied with 1 point each. Things are a lot more separated and clearer in this Group B that features Kenya and Zimbabwe. Now for their attacking endeavour and trouble, Zimbabwe have earned a free kick in quite a promising position on the field. And it's no surprise that Muwira will take this one for them. He's taken set pieces with the left boot, with the right boot too. Quite a versatile skill set that he does possess. That one though is just too close to Omondi, who gets Kenya going rather rapidly. Onyango is making a really good run. It's just a pity that the pass was off his radar. And nearly Hachiro was released by Mushore. Kenya have had their moments, so have Zimbabwe, but so far it's quite cagey between the two. Zimbabwe will know that a point is enough to finish on the top of Group B. Now that's picked up from Atieno, and again, not exactly the precise and lethal attacking one would come to expect from a team that slayed Zambia. It's a good pick out from Omondi. Decent control from Otieno. And Benson Ochieng gets away with one there. Here's Kitseo. Hugging that left-hand touchline, now drifting inwards. He was just met by a yellow wall. Out from Zimbabwe. Not to a yellow shirt though. Ogilo. Austin Atieno. Loose touch from him. And now Zimbabwe can stream forwards. Mushore. Banda again. Onyongo intercepts for Kenya. Well, the Kenyans have matched the Zimbabweans pretty well so far. Just patiently waiting for that golden opportunity. Banda goes down the line this time. Ben-Hura making a bit of a nuisance of himself. Long ball up towards Austin Atieno. It does yield a throw-in. It's a good territory gained for Kenya. Both Kenya and Zimbabwe have also just recently reached the halfway mark of their respective World Cup qualification journeys. Kenya are well off the pace set by Cote d'Ivoire in their group, and Zimbabwe are currently languishing at the bottom of their group. In other words, we will probably not see Kenya or Zimbabwe in the Americas come 2026. But Kenya can break the deadlock here. Onyango lashes one over the top. That's the chance that they've been waiting for so patiently. And Onyango a bit too hot-headed. Really good pressure applied from the Kenyans. Plenty of space to unleash a meaningful strike, but off target for Onyango and Kenya. No work so far for Pitisi. Great distribution from the goalkeeper though. Mushore. It's well done from Kitseo. The Kenyans are slowly starting to find their confidence.
No problem, guys, no problem.
Benson Ochieng was anticipating a run from Onyango, a run that didn't quite arrive, and a pass that just didn't have the legs on it either. Oh, it's the Kenyans that are winning these battles in the midfield for now. Atieno. Here's Atieno again. Wanjala. Here's Otieno. Really good with his back to goal is Otieno. It's a rare skill in football. One that not a lot of players possess, especially midfielders, used to playing with their face facing up against the goal. Here's Ohono. Omondi did incredibly well the other night to keep a clean sheet against the Copper Bullets. And the wind also playing its part. That long ball from Omondi initially looked like it was overcooked, but it just held up in the air, and it brought Benson Ochieng into the game too. Murira. Mapua is his target. Wanjala just got there in the nick of time. Here goes Banda for Zimbabwe. Really good touch to escape the clutches of Onyango, but not Atieno. And here come the Kenyans. Omija down the right-hand side. Poor ball in the end. Still Kenyan ball, however. Onyango swapping places with his right fullback. Great understanding so far between the Kenyans. It's a pity things didn't quite click for them against Comoros. Here's Ohono for Kenya. The guest nation at this year's COSAFA Cup have looked quite enterprising in bits and pieces. Nothing sustained and meaningful just yet. Here's Kitseo, then Atieno, Otieno. Omija. Benson Ochieng was making quite a threatening run. Omija opted to rather retain possession instead of taking a bit of a gamble. Here's Onyango though. Good strength from Onyango. Decent enough defending from Mahano. Was located exactly where he needed to be. But here's a chance then for Zimbabwe. Mushore. Mureremba. Down the right, the cutback. Just rolls harmlessly into the breadbasket of Omondi. Back to front we go now. Here's Kitseo. Benson Ochieng. Kitseo again. He's dispossessed. Banda, Murira really is a fantastic distributor of the football. It is rather peculiar to see the Copper Bullets misfiring this tournament, but their inadequacies have been pounced on by the likes of Kenya and Zimbabwe. Do remember that Zambia entered this tournament with the thought of winning 3 COSAFA Cup titles in a row, a feat that no national team has ever attained. Muriwa, that's a really good ball. And they've got a corner. So from one set piece to the other, Muriwa makes his way to the right-hand side of the field. Might they opt for something a little bit different, something that might catch the Kenyans off guard? So the targets have to be Mapua, Umashore, perhaps Ben-Hura, who is the closest to the goalkeeper out of all of the Zimbabwean players. Fantastic cross to the front stick. Omondi with an unconvincing punch, but convincing enough. And he releases it rapidly again, wasting no time. Now you can hear the Zimbabwean coach on the sideline asking his troops to play at a quicker tempo. And if Tapera and his troops are to trollop all the way to COSAFA Cup glory, Tapera's interim head coach title may just be altered to something more fixed and long term. They'll know that after this game there will only be 2 more foes standing in their way between themselves and COSAFA Cup glory. Kitseo with a flick on header. Here's Mapua. Mushore for Zimbabwe. Onyango does well for Kenya. And look at him drive on. Onyango. And that attempted through ball was cut out by Hativangoni. Another long ball thrown into the mix. Kennedy Oriambo must be quite satisfied with his team's performance so far. Similar to the many carefully curated coaching selections of other national setups, Kennedy Oriambo has been given the reins to manage this rather youthful Kenyan outfit, many of which have worked under the tutelage of Oriambo in the under-23 sector of Kenyan football. Here's Banda. He's got a really long throw on him. The loose ball is picked up from Kenya, more specifically Benson Ochieng. They can't keep it. And that really has been the tale of the first half so far for the Kenyans. As for Zimbabwe, they seem to be operating in second gear for now. Muriwa Onyango giving him a good old hassle. Now the other tussle in this group between Zambia and the Comoros Islands is also currently underway. That scoreline is also currently scoreless between Zambia and Comoros. At the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium, just a 10 or 15 minute drive from here. Here's Wanjala for Kenya. It's a really useful ball in behind that Zimbabwean defense. Kenya with a massive chance. And that miscue clearance not pounced upon. Zimbabwe survive a real threat and a real warning. So the wind really working in the favor of the Kenyans so far. None of those long balls have been overcooked. And it's maybe a strategy that they should focus on a bit more as this game progresses. Ohono, Ogilo. It's a really good steal in the midfield by Mureremba. Riwa. Fantastic spot. Banda. But Omija has always been equal to the Banda threat. Could easily change. Both of these national setups were absent from the most recent and captivating AFCON tournament earlier this year. They would have watched on with great envy, but with also a great deal of motivation to try and elevate the status of football in their country. And neither Kenya or Zimbabwe could even partake in the AFCON qualifiers last year due to unfortunate government intervention in their football structures. So this tournament really is an opportunity to turn over a new leaf for Kenya and Zimbabwe. Ogilo gets us going again. And Chiro's ball is very hopeful, not at all measured. Wanjala. A really good pass through the midfield, dissecting that Zimbabwean midfield line. Big chance there for the Kenyans here. Offside flag has gone up. So Austin Atieno has been central to everything positive from a Kenyan perspective. And as we can clearly see on that picture, Kitseo miles offside. Petisi restarts the confrontation. Omija. Onyango comes short to collect. There's Atieno. So when Kenya, I should say, are in possession of the ball, they are playing with a back three, with the CDM slotting in between Ohono and Wanjala. As for Zimbabwe, they seem to be utilizing the two forwards up top with two very wide wingers. So far, no real danger has been seen as of yet. Half an hour into the contest, and we're missing a bit of magic from Kenya and Zimbabwe. It's a typical cup affair. Onyango. Atieno. Onyango. All that they need is a bit of patience. Zimbabwe, very solid, very resolute in their defensive structure, with a flat 4 at the back. Now a 5 at the back, and then 3 in the midfield, and then 2 up top. So an Italian formation, an Italian strategy applied by the Zimbabwean head coach. And they'll know that Kenya are irregular participants in the COSAFA Cup. In fact, the last time Kenya participated in the COSAFA Cup was once before in 2013 when Zambia hosted and won the event. The Kenyans didn't last long and they succumbed to early group elimination. Will they avoid the same fate this time around? It's a heavy landing from Pitisi. Huge opportunity for the Kenyans. But again, enough members to deal with that threat for Zimbabwe. It looked like a really heavy and harsh landing for Pitisi. And the ball just held up again, that ever so slightly, making the goalkeeper's life tremendously difficult. And it looks like he's winded in the windy city. And he's in some real discomfort, is Pitisi. Mariwa just posing the question, shouldn't there be a booking, Mr. Referee? Seemed like it was all clean and all pure intentions from the Kenyans. This is the Kenya we saw against Zambia, not the Kenya we witnessed against Comoros. Atieno has fulfilled many roles in this first half so far. He's played slightly deeper for Odiemo's side. He's also had a 5-minute spell closer to Bench and Ochieng, and then Kitseo on the left-hand side. So he's been given this free roaming role by Kennedy Odiambo. And just like last Thursday, Kenya seemed to be in the mood for a seismic upset in Group B. What a statement it would be if they can defeat the two most successful nations the COSAFA Cup has ever seen. For a team that has only appeared in one COSAFA Cup before, that would be a monumental achievement. So Pitisi is still pulling himself towards himself, regathering his breath. And Ogilo is patiently waiting to construct another attacking move for Kenya. Ohono. Really good switch and ball up towards Onyango. And that's confident goalkeeping after just sustaining a blow to the midriff. Pitisi, unafraid, Rosewell caught well. And he's distributed decently too. Ben-Hura couldn't get there ahead of Otieno. Here's Hachiro for Zimbabwe. Nice little nick in the center of the park by Otieno. Here's Austin Atieno. The ball is taken off his boots. Now Zimbabwe have been unable to penetrate Kenya through the center, so they're realizing that they'll probably have most of their chances and joy down the flanks of the Kenyan outfit. Perhaps they just require a bit of a restructure, tactical reshape for the second half. It's a useful long ball, long throw from Jalai. Here's Jalai again. He's got 4 or 5 targets to pick out in that penalty area. And Martin Mokete has spotted an infringement on Atieno. Wanjala. Harmless stuff from the Kenyans so far. Misplaced pass picked up by Mutimba Nyoka for Zimbabwe. Onyongo doing exactly the same for the Kenyans. Someone is yet to sprinkle their stardust in this Group B brawl. And Benhura so far, the Zimbabwean forward, has been well watched, well marshalled by especially Omija and Wanjala. And you can see the home support, the locals favour Zimbabwe. The question is, will they be favoured by fate in this one against the Kenyans? So Omija rekindles the fire. Otieno. Again, another misplaced pass from the Kenyans. Unforced errors starting to creep into their game. Pace for the Zimbabweans. Mutimba Nyoka. Really good challenge from Wanjala in response. Looked like he was beaten. Managed just to pull off a sumptuous sliding challenge. Well, this might favour the Zimbabwean players in the box a little bit more. An in-swinger this time from Moriwa. Not exactly happy with his placement, but here he goes. Opportunity for Zimbabwe. Omondi calls loudly and claims confidently. Thought about going to the right-hand side. Omija and Onyongo were closely packed together. Mondi playing as a centre half for now. Wanjala, the modern day goalkeeper, is forced to do exactly that. Ahono. Onyango. Yet to reveal his ruthless self in this tournament is Onyango. Just a bit of a yard slower than his league form this season. Here's Moriwa again. Now that is a Hollywood pass from the Zimbabwean captain. Zimbabwe heading in a forward direction. The cross needs to be on the money. It isn't. It's on the roof of Omondi's net. So July failing to capitalize and optimize the move for Zimbabwe. That started from a raking long ball from Moriwa. Hachiro doing the intercepting for the men in yellow. Mushore again. Crab crawls it back into his control. Mapua. Decent pace and power from Zimbabwe's number 15. Question is, has he won a corner? No. Kenya and Zimbabwe have only met 3 times before on a football field, and to this day Quite surprisingly, Zimbabwe have never defeated their Kenyan counterparts. And the freshest meeting between the two concluded in a 3-1 victory for Kenya in March of this year. And furthermore, no Zimbabwean has ever scored against Kenya before. And due to their geographical separation, a match between the two is quite rare. So let's enjoy it while we can. Jalai up towards Mapua. Here's Mushore fulfilling that number 8 role for Tapero's troops. And finally, someone is ambitious enough to have a pop from range. Mondi and Petisi might as well take their gloves off. Ahono, poor giveaway. Mushore, still Mushore for Zimbabwe. Is this the chance? Decided not to go for goal. Preferred the cutback, which certainly preferred Kenya. And that touch, one would say, costed him the touch of the knee. Nonetheless, Zimbabwe do have a corner kick to try and capitalize on. That is without a shadow of a doubt the chance of the first half so far. There's a really strong wind swirling around. Speaking of swirling, not the greatest of balls from Muriwa this time around. Just a few moments to go in regulation time. Hachiro. Here's Banda. Banyoka. Inconspicuous so far. He's not really playing in his strongest position, is Banyoka. Prefers to play through the middle. Instead, he's finding himself hugging the left-hand touchline. And he has a really strong and calculated defender to beat in Omija. Omondi slips. It's not the first time that Mushore has pounced on the loose ball. Here he is. Mushore to Hachiro. Mapua. Mapua with a few stepovers, not bamboozling that Kenyan back line just yet. Nice, quick 1-2 stuff from the men in yellow. Mapua, great cross. Another one goes in. Beach soccer style. Decent way to try and end off the first half for Zimbabwe. They're in the ascendancy. Mueremba. Now it's a chance for the Kenyans to tighten the screw in the Zimbabwean half, which they don't do. And then we just heard it now. 2 minutes have been added on for this first half. Can the Kenyans bring a surprise? Poor ball up towards Onyango. It has been over a decade since Kenya's last visit to South Africa, whereas Zimbabwe played 2 matches in this country just recently, even before this regional tournament started. And quite evidently they're a bit more accustomed to South African conditions. Here's Austin Atieno. Could this be the final meaningful attack of the first half? Mushore opts to go to the right-hand side. Mureremba's ball in. He's met by Ben-Hura, and it's a loopy one. Not troubling Omondi in that Kenyan goal. Made a really good darting run to make first contact with that header. Here's Austin Atieno. He'll have to come out fit and firing in the second half. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that for the first stanza between Kenya and Zimbabwe. It's a match that has really lacked any real type of quality in the final third. Kenya have had 2 half opportunities. Zimbabwe probably had the chance of the first half. That fell to Mushore, but instead of going for goal, going for glory, he looked for his teammate, and it was intercepted by Wanjala in that Kenyan back line. It's been a fascinating brawl so far. No haymakers, however, have been thrown by either Kenya or Zimbabwe. It ends after the first half. Kenya 0, Zimbabwe 0-2. They'll be hoping to come out with a lot more vigor and verve in the second half. Hype. Yes, yes, yes. And a warm welcome back to the Isaac Wolfson's Stadium. It's a Group B brawl between Kenya and Zimbabwe to decide the outright winners of Group B, who is bound to be Zimbabwe, who in actual fact are going to make a trio of changes, it seems like, maybe two. We'll confirm those for you. Now, the record number of COSAFA Cup titles is a record that is currently owned by Zambia. They have won this event a staggering 7 times. Zimbabwe is next on the list with 6 title captures. Furthermore, Zimbabwe are also the second most frequent semi-finalists with 12 appearances in the bank in the knockouts. They are on the precipice of joining the Final Four yet again in the COSAFA Cup, the 23rd edition of its kind. Now the substitutions have been made, none for Kenya. So Jaros Tapera has blinked first. And here we go again for the second half between Kenya and Zimbabwe. As of right now, Group B in its current form reads Zimbabwe are first with 7 points and Comoros are second with 4 points. And they've started really well of the Zimbabweans in the second half, with a lot of fire in their bellies and an ambition to defeat the giant killers of this year's COSAFA Cup. And they filter it nicely down that left-hand side. Omija doing the defending for Kenya. Then Wanjala puts his size 12 through it. Hono has some work to do. Here's Hono again. So back to the current Group B standings. Kenya are third and Comoros are second with 4 points apiece. If Kenya have any hope of making it into the semi-final stage, they have to claim a victory this afternoon and hope that tomorrow the Seychelles defeat Namibia. And South Africa, as well as Botswana, slip up against Mozambique. But the Kenyans can only control the controllables, and that is their performance. They simply have to defeat the 6-time COSAFA Cup champions to even have a shot at a semi-final appearance. Ben-Hura. Now the crowd urging Zimbabwe on. Will they respond in turn? That's a really good ball down the left-hand side. 3 players in the box to pick out. 1 at the far post. That's a really good first touch. Danger averted for Kenya. Despite a valiant effort, Omondi couldn't quite keep it in. Wira put in a few devilish crosses in the first half. Very intentional in whatever he does. And he needs to be pinpoint accurate from this set piece if we are to witness the opener. What does the referee say here? Looks like it's a free kick to Kenya. For that foul on Ahono. introduction of Meke down that left-hand side for Zimbabwe has yielded good influence. Left winger playing on the left-hand side of the front three is a bit rare in the modern day. These days coaches prefer to play with inverted wingers. That should be a Zimbabwean corner, it is. And he's also been introduced as Michael Tapera. In any event, one more corner, starting really to rack them up for the Zimbabweans and Muriwa. And he's indicating for a much longer one. One with a little bit more hang time. He needs to give his defenders an opportunity to get a glancing header like that. Good attempt from Ben-Hura. Chance on target for the Zimbabweans. Really good corner, really good run. And decent enough goalkeeping from Omondi, making himself as big as possible to deny the Zimbabweans, who have definitely started the better of these two nations in the second half. Ogilo, Ahono, Ochieng just couldn't quite trap the ball under his spell. Here's Atieng. So far, Mapua has had Atieno's number. Ogilo goes back to his goalkeeper. Great first touch from Onyango. Even better spin too. Pass doesn't match his previous movements. That was shot from range, held up in the wind. Has Omondi, so this time in the second half, Kenya are playing with the wind. Zimbabwe against it. Handball. Oh, offside. Sends the linesman rather. Perhaps a combination of both. A double whammy for the Kenyans. And for their number 14, who is also another substitute, Patrick Otieno, who scored that penalty against the Copper Bullets last Thursday evening. Here he is, Patrick Otieno. Hativagoni gets in the way. July. And here they go to Kenya. Benson Ochieng. Still Benson Ochieng. The cutback is good. Is that a penalty? The ref says no. Wagged his finger rather furiously. Great run from Otieno. And then the cutback was good enough for Austin Atieno. He just couldn't quite wriggle his way through. Grab a hold of it and then unleash a strike. Simple stuff from Wanjala in Kenya in the second half. Otieno. Free kick taken quickly. Benson Ochieng. Great thought. Not the greatest of execution though. Look at this speed, however. Some of them really do have pace to burn. On that occasion it was Michael Tapera. Here's Onyango for Kenya, disguising the cross. Just simply not getting the better of July so far. Here's Omija though, ahead of the winger. Onyango shapes up for an early cross. Austin Atieno! Goal to Kenya! Just like last Thursday, they are in the mood for another shake-up, another surprise. And that is the first goal that Zimbabwe have conceded in the 23rd edition of the COSAFA Cup. They lacked a little something in the final third. Well, in the second half, Atieno has provided quite a sumptuous finish. A great take, and then just slotting it beyond Pitisi, who picked the ball out the back of his net for the very first time all tournament long. And now that goal has placed Kenya in second position in Group B with 6 points. And look at the confidence now. I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's amazing what a goal can do to a team's confidence. And it would be a serious pity if Kenya are to falter and not progress into the semi-final stage, because this current scoreline places them level on points with Zimbabwe. Zimbabweans, though, as of now, just have a slightly superior goal difference. And the Kenyans seem to be in the mood for a few more. Zimbabwe need a response to shore things up at the top of the table. July dallies on it far too long. Otieng careless in possession. Ben-Hura for Zimbabwe. Depura. July. Back to July. 2 against 3 there. That's a clumsy foul from Patrick Otieng. Who really has made a difference for this Kenyan cohort in the second half. He's been the link between the defense, the midfield and the attack as Patrick Otieng. So careful placement by Banda. Face of razor-sharp focus. 5 Zimbabweans in the box to possibly pick out a plethora of green shirts in there too. All 11 of them in the box, anticipating. Quick delivery from Banda. He could even try and sneak it in at the front post. Let's see what he can produce. Banda for Zimbabwe. Too shallow. Too predictable for that Kenyan back line, who come out of their blocks now, out of their shells really, are the Kenyans. Banda. Great first time pass. His teammate, however, was caught by the Kenyan offside trap. In fact, he might have just been onside. It's a game of margins, this one, especially when it comes to offside and onside calls. Omondi. Really strong header from Hachiro. Mushore. And before the start of this tournament, Kenya picked up one of their biggest results against Cote d'Ivoire on the 11th of this month, of last month, should I say. And that draw with the AFCON champions, was their third clean sheet in 5 matches. They're also in decent goal scoring form. They put 3 past Zimbabwe earlier in the year, 4 past Malawi in March, and they also scored 5 unanswered goals against the Seychelles in November last year. So they never seem to struggle in front of goal, do the Kenyans, recently that is. And as for Zimbabwe, they've scored in each of their last 3 matches. And the only team they haven't scored against this calendar year was Lesotho. Might Kenya be the second? Banda launches one. Onyango does some sweeping and clearing work for the Kenyans. Onyango presses, but to no avail. He does get the ball now. Onyango decides rather to win the foul, attract the error from Zimbabwe and Banda. And they've really upset the apple cart of the Kenyans. And boy, did they need that goal. Patrick Otieng. One offside, one would think. Well, it's interesting to note that in the last few moments, Kenya have gone to the top of the log. Their goal difference turns out not to be inferior to Zimbabwe. So as it stands, Kenya will progress as the group winners of Group B. Zimbabwe are still second. Unless they respond now, they've got a free kick. And the goal difference of both Kenya and Zimbabwe is currently on 1 for Kenya and then 2 for Zimbabwe. But first place in the group is decided by the head-to-head record. And if this result remains unchanged, Kenya will progress as the top team of Group B because they defeated Zimbabwe. And that is a big if. They need to hold on. They need to apply so much focus for the remainder of this contest. What a story it would be. The minnows, the guest nation. Muriwa Omondi with a really good clearance. The second time around was much better from Wanjala. Now Patrick Otieng, full of life, is the substitute. Otieno, goal scorer, Austin Atieno. So Zimbabwe have to score. Atieno for Kenya. This time it's clutched by Pitisi. Banda wasting no time in getting the ball forwards and into the half of Kenya. Otieno. They need to establish some control in this fixture, do the Kenyans, after securing that all-important opener courtesy of a wonderful hit, a wonderful movement from Austin Atieno. Riwa, very composed at the back. Here's Atieno. Made by Benhura. Atieno. Kenya are far more confident in possession in the second half. Onyango. And he's been much more involved in the second period too, has Onyango. Patrick Otieng. The other Otieng is dispossessed and gives the ball away to Zimbabwe, who can't quite make it stick. Omondi, slightly on the back foot. Falls to Banda. Very tricky conditions that these players are finding themselves in. Here's Atieno. 3, now 4 players in advance for Kenya. It's recycled. Back to Onyango. Well, his intention was to whip it into that corridor of uncertainty. Just got it a bit wrong. That's partly why Kenya have been so successful in the second half, because of those early crosses by Onyango. There's nothing that a forward likes more than an early cross to attack. Here's Mushore, the liveliest member of that Zimbabwean cohort in the first half. Pretty silent so far in the second period. Austin Atieno tries to squeeze a ball through, fails in his endeavor. Muriwa. Great pass from Muriwa. Zimbabwe shifted along nicely. Benhura. Tapera. Tapera for Zimbabwe. Had a chance to stick it away, not once but twice. That's the first time that Kenyan backline has really been rattled. And again, it's Mushore that found himself in a really lethal zone. Kenya are actually from the COSAFA region, and the last time Zimbabwe faced a nation from that region was in November of last year. It was a scoreless stalemate with Rwanda. The most successful team in what they call the COSAFA Cup is without a shadow of a doubt Uganda. And just a word on Rwanda, they are also in the same World Cup qualification group as Zimbabwe, and they are currently leading that group. Second is Bafana Bafana, of course, who are in action later today against Eswatini. Not here, but at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium, where some of these supporters might make their way to. Or they could just set up camp for the rest of the day. Now there's that golden goal again. Austin Atieno with a great finish for Kenya. It looked as if the ball was stuck beneath his feet. Managed to manufacture some space to produce a quite brilliant opener. And he's certainly made an impact, has Patrick Otieng. Many members of this Kenyan cohort apply their trade and strut their stuff in the Kenyan Premier League. Gor Mahia Football Club of Nairobi successfully defended their domestic league throne last season. July. Austin Atieno. Patrick Otieng. Bundles over. Finds his feet again. That's great footwork from Austin Atieno. Not a great pass. However, Kenyan players hold on to the ball. Here's July again. His options are rather limited. He has a big chance. Well judged by Petisi. The bounce of the ball can always be so tricky in conditions such as this. Austin Atieno nearly releasing Onyango. And then Otieno tried exactly the same. That Zimbabwean backline denying them not once but twice. Patrick Otieng, that's brilliant work done from Kenya to dispossess Tapera. And then number 10, Austin Atieno, is full of life and really wanting to add to his goal tally. It was in fact Atieno's second goal that he scored a little bit earlier on. Muriwa, probably the most composed Zimbabwean on the field is Muriwa. It's a Mondi ball. He does marshal his backline rather well, does Omondi. It's nothing more pleasing for a defender to have a reliable goalkeeping behind. Audacious hit from Austin Atieno. He's riding a wave of confidence, is the Kenyan number 10. And the bounce sat up quite invitingly for Atieno. There's Mushore, really good ball from the midfielder. Hachiro, not enough time. Atieno does have time and space though. Tries the more difficult ball. It's a massive chance here for Kenya to double up their advantage. But there was a handball committed by Benson Ochieng. His resulting strike just clipped the outside of the left hand upright. But he did use his left hand to his benefit to set up the strike. Tapera. Tapera's gone to ground. And then he's closed down Ohono in fury and frustration. Here's Omondi. The game is starting to slowly open up, especially for the Kenyans. Atieno wanted it, he didn't receive it. And Zimbabwe have a chance on the counter. But again, the Kenyans are so well structured, so well drilled to deal with that Zimbabwean attacking threat. Benson Ochieng. Ochieng is through on goal! That's number 2 for Kenya! That's the goal that might send them through to the COSAFA Cup semi-finals for the very first time in their history. It is a massive goal, one that started all the way back in the hands of Omondi, and then resilient running from Benson Ochieng to cause all kinds of chaos at the back for Zimbabwe. Oh, it looks like Benson Ochieng did get the meaningful and final touch. Just got there ahead of Muriwa, who I was just praising for being so composed. Not that occasion. Out-muscled, out-fought, out-maneuvered by Benson Ochieng. And Petsisi was in no man's land. And that is a textbook finish from Benson Ochieng, which might just seal the deal for Kenya. And now their goal difference with Zimbabwe is exactly the same. In fact, there's been another twist in the Group B tail. Comoros currently lead Group B just because of that head-to-head record, them beating Kenya last weekend. So Kenya are now third on the log, which is subject to change. And the defending champions Zambia are staring down the barrel of their third defeat in a row in the COSAFA Cup. And there's going to be a sub here for Zimbabwe. Rauzi jogs onto the field, hoping to make an impact for Zimbabwe. Boy, do they need a hero. Their future in this competition hangs in the balance. July. And after an eventless first half, this game has really been sparked into life. And the Kenyans have really brought the fire that they missed against the Comoros. Now, besides Zambia, Comoros, Zimbabwe and Kenya are all tied with 6 points in Group B. And all the other groups are said to be just as tight. Benson Ochieng, Onyango. And Zambia may have the most COSAFA Cup titles, but Zimbabwe do have a few records of their own. They've amassed a total of 40 victories across the many COSAFA Cups, which is the most of any nation. They also own the record of the most goals in this tournament. Over the years, they have scored an incredible 113 goals. Today, they've been rather blunt in the attacking half. And there was also a time in which Zimbabwe undertook a 17-game unbeaten run in this tournament. A run that stretched across 3 or 4 tournaments. So Kenya will be hoping that Zambia can find it within themselves to force an equalizer in that match at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. So just to confirm for you, Comoros are first with 6 points, Kenya are second. And even with this victory, Kenya have a really good opportunity to progress to the knockouts as the best runner-up. But they'll only know their future if they end in second spot in Group B after tomorrow's fixtures. As for Zimbabwe, if they can find just 2 goals, they'll finish on the top of Group B, but time is definitely not on their side. They've been off song this afternoon. Kenya have been full of fight. Led by that man up top, Benson Ochieng. Hachiro. Catching practice all day long for Ormondi. Muriwa. Now, during the 2013 COSAFA Cup in Zambia, Kenya might have exited the tournament prematurely, but there was enough quality to suggest that they could one day progress through to the knockout rounds. Their first group match that year ended 2-2 with Lesotho. They then beat Eswatini by 2-0, but their hopes were dashed when they succumbed to a 2-1 loss against Botswana. As a matter of fact, Zambia won their home tournament that year. They beat South Africa on penalties in the semi-finals and outclassed Zimbabwe in the final. Matisi spotted the run of Banda, couldn't quite execute on his plans. Hachiro keeps the momentum for Zimbabwe. That's simple enough for Otieno, who really keeps his game rather simple. That's the second hand ball Benson Ochieng has committed this game. So Zimbabwe really do need to go full throttle for the remainder of this fixture if they wish to turn things around and rewrite the script. Mushore. And the volley comes off Wanjala. Miscued volley in that. Banda. Delightful cross. And that's over from Ben-Hura. Really good play from Zimbabwe. Stringing together a few decent passes. And then the knockdown was very delightful. It's just a pity Ben-Hura had too much venom on his strike. And Omondi's clean sheet remains intact. Banda. And as we all know, Kenya and Zimbabwe are coached and prepared by two astute tacticians. There have, however, been strict requirements placed on head coaches of national teams recently. In this tournament, all of the head coaches must have a minimum of a CAF Pro A or CAF B coaching license. Ochieng took it off the toes of Austin Atieno. Now it's July's turn. Great pick up from July. Here he is. Zimbabwe just simply need to commit more of their players. Patrick Otieng fulfilling his defensive duties for now. Kenya just simply can't afford to panic, because as of now, Kenya are the best runner-up team at this year's COSAFA Cup. Namibia, of course, have 4 points in Group C. They'll be hoping that the Seychelles can take a few points off Namibia tomorrow. As for Group A, all of the nations in that group, Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana and Eswatini, are all tied and stuck on 2 points apiece. Which means that the best runner-up will either be Namibia or Kenya. Here's Benson Ochieng. Kenya inching further and further closer to that Zimbabwean goal. This is where they need to keep possession. Keep the threat of Zimbabwe at bay. And Okilo leisurely making his way to take this throw in for the Kenyans. The wind has picked up in the last few minutes or so. Austin Atieno, Benson Ochieng, and then July for Zimbabwe. Kenya are definitely on the precipice of something quite marvelous. Victories against Zambia and Zimbabwe will definitely look really impressive on their resume in 2024. Ben-Hura is dispossessed. Now Patrick Otieng Ken Odhiambo can't control himself, overwhelmed with excitement and with the prospect of defeating the second most successful nation in COSAFA Cup history. Banda. Something needs to really happen sooner rather than later for the Zimbabweans. Could it be now? Mashore. Here's Banda. In a really advanced position is the left fullback. Now Hachiro. They just haven't taken enough risks, have the Zimbabweans. They've been far too conservative in this tie against the Kenyans, who have been up for the challenge from minute one up until now. And the crowd on the far side of the ground is getting a little bit rowdy. Banda. Plenty of hang time on the cross. Just 5 more minutes to go of regulation time. Kenya are desperately close to attaining history. Omondi. Otieng slips. Zimbabwe advance. Ben-Hura. Really good run from Banda. Instead it's Moshore's ball. A goal for Zimbabwe now would really throw a spanner in the works. It's difficult to know or predict the immediate future of both these national setups. Once their journey at this year's COSAFA Cup reaches a dead end, they might play a few friendlies here and there before they jump back into World Cup qualifying action early 2025. So that Kenyan defensive line right on the edge of the box. And they can take a deep sigh of relief, can the Kenyans? There are 2 more matches coming right your way after this one. Mozambique and Botswana enter this arena next. And at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium, Bafana Bafana will cross swords with familiar foes, Eswatini. Both those matches will be ignited at 3 o'clock sharp. And it's also very important to note that the winners of this group, Group B, which as of now will be the Comoros Islands, will face the winner of Group C, which could either be Angola, Lesotho or Namibia. That's yet to be confirmed. Nothing has changed in the other match between Comoros and Zambia. The Island boys still hold a slender lead over the 7-time and defending champions, the Copper Bullets. As expected, some time wasting here from Kenya and Otieno. Here's Austin Otieno. Got the show on the road for the Kenyans. Austin Otieno. Can the Kenyans seal the deal and eliminate Zimbabwe Not a bad strike. Otieno caught it quite sweetly. Just wasn't on target. It really is a difficult technique to pull off from the volley. Here's Muriwa. Typical Muriwa ball. Zimbabwe have a free kick due to a tug of the shirt. It is truly a rare sight and a wonderful feat to have won 2 consecutive COSAFA Cup titles. Zambia have done so on 2 occasions in 97 and 98, as well as 2022 and 2023. Zimbabwe also defended their title in 2018 after winning it in 2017. But that, all of those memorable stats and figures mean absolutely nothing to Kenya. They have outperformed Zimbabwe this afternoon. They fully deserve their victory. Onyango working doggedly, making a very good run too. Muriwa just pops in front of Onyango. So the referee's additional time is a mere 2 minutes. Otieno. Here's Patrick Atieng. After giving the ball away, he's won it right back as Atieng. Full of running. Here he goes again. Atieng, will he keep it there by the corner flag? The answer is no. They'll settle for a throw-in, will the Kenyans. It's incredible to think that Zimbabwe, after being announced as many people's favorites to go on and win the COSAFA Cup, are seconds away from being eliminated. Atieng, free kick Zimbabwe. No solace for them at all. And they haven't been afforded any breathing room whatsoever by the Kenyans, who have played the perfect tactical match against the Zimbabweans. They've nullified every single threat. Banda chasing a lost cause. Everyone waiting with bated breath for the referee's final whistle. Austin Atieno, strong contender for man of the match. And Omondi has been incredibly resolute at the back. And the big news is that Zimbabwe have been eliminated by Kenya in the COSAFA Cup. And the Kenyans have really given themselves a decent shot to go through as the best runner-up. They'll know their fate tomorrow afternoon. But Zimbabwe know theirs. After a brilliant start to this tournament, after claiming 2 victories from 2 matches, Zimbabwe have simply been outperformed and really outmuscled by the Kenyans, who have kept things simple and effective. And they have their just reward, the reward that they came for. Two goals proving to be enough for the Kenyans over the Warriors, who really didn't put up any type of fight or didn't display any kind of warrior spirit. Dejected, despondent faces for Zimbabwe. Just hasn't been their year. And so far, the team to beat has been beaten by the Kenyans, the guest nation from the COSAFA region. coming over to the southern region to impart their style and attitude and make a strong play for the Final Four. Zimbabwe have been well supported by the local crowd here, but they just haven't given a lot to shout about. And that game at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium is also just recently wrapped up. Comoros claiming a victory over Zambia, which means that Comoros are the gold medalists in Group B, and they will either play what is set to be Angola or Namibia come Friday afternoon. They gave it their all, but they all just wasn't enough. And in the Windy City, Zimbabwe have been blown over.
So doing the handover is Mr. Timothy Shongwe, who is the COSAFA Exco member and chairman of competitions. And our player of the match is Austin Otieno. Congratulations, Otieno. Obviously, the second half, that was all the difference of it. You opened up the scoring. Let me know just how challenging that first half was. And what was the difference going into the second?
We had a very difficult first half because of the wind. The wind was going against us, so we were finding it tough to pass the through balls to our striker. Then coming into second half, we knew the wind is going on our side, so we had to push so that we can get the 2 goals.
Was it deliberate that the balls were going over and you used the long balls?
We on the first half, we knew that the defense is stepping up high, so we came on second half trying to put the balls behind them. Yeah, so we saw the first half how it was, so second half we came to give the long balls behind them, so we managed to get a goal through it.
And just finally, before I do let you go, let me know as to how it was going into halftime at the deadlock. Is that exactly the score that you wanted, knowing that obviously this could possibly shake up Group B?
Honestly, we did not expect that. We were so disappointed on the first half, but we came up on the second half with more effort. That really helped us. Yeah.
Congratulations, Austin.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's now have a conversation with Coach Ken. I just want to know from you your assessment from the game, and before the game, had I given you this result, would have you taken it?
I think, first of all, let me commend my boys. They did a good job. Despite the condition, it was too windy. It was not easy to play football. And then the other thing was the first half, we knew, like, if we can contain them, because of this side, the wind was blowing a lot. So we knew in the second half, we'll hit them because they were not very good in defending high balls. So that is, we capitalized on that one. We were hitting the high balls and then coming for the second ball, and then we punished them.
And that's exactly how the first goal came through. Obviously, the high ball was working in your favor. Coach, let me know, obviously, what was it really in the first half, besides the wind, that just wasn't coming together for you?
I think we were not stringing, our passes were not done well. And then the other thing, we lacked a leader. In the first half, we were like, everybody was quiet. And then we had a chat at halftime, and then we told them, we need to be leaders, all of us. We need to talk, and then it should be positive talk, not just talking. So that is, I think, is the other thing that worked for us in the second half.
You talk about that leadership. For people who didn't see, obviously, off camera, the bench, everyone was screaming instructions from the bench. Is that what filters through in the Kenyan national team?
I think if these guys are young, so they need to be like pushed up to the end. They are not like the professionals who you just sit and then let them do the job because you've done your work in training. But these ones, we had to push them, and that it worked at the end of the day.
And Coach, obviously, you were so close to making that history. Very, very close. Let me know as to what are the positives that are taken from this competition, because obviously we know that it needs to be implemented to better the football out in Kenya.
I think the first thing, when we came into this tournament, it was just to try and unearth new talents who will graduate to the senior team. And at least I think I'm happy so far because we've seen some players performing well. And then in this tournament, the organization is superb. Everything is superb. There's nothing to complain about. And then we just ask them to make sure, like the next time, they increase the number of guys coming because we needed like 26 players and more officials. Yeah.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the victory and thank you for ruffing up some feathers in Group B.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is Coach Ken from Kenya. Let's have a conversation now with Coach Tapera from Zimbabwe. Coach, your assessment of this game?
Yeah, I think a very bad loss. The game was a tale of two halves. The first half was some opportunities that I thought we could have scored. If you could have scored first, probably this team was going to be desperate. But when we came in the second half, we gave away the 2 goals. The first goal, someone stopped, receives in the box alone and got a shot. Second goal, the captain was not even sure of where the ball is and the opponent, they got the second goal. But overall, I'm happy with the boys. They showed a lot of courage, a lot of organization besides the two goals that were scored.
Coach, in the first half, I saw you screaming that you wanted more tempo in the game. Did you receive the tempo that you desired?
Yeah, surely. We changed everything. We had 2 strikers up front, and we thought we should increase instead of us moving around the ball. We were 2 down. I expected these boys to at least have all the balls behind the defender so that we can probably go to 1 or 2.
Let's talk about that second half. Obviously, closer to the end, it was a low block situation that was happening. Do you believe that you could have done better within those last few minutes of the second half?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that we could have done better, especially when we were getting the balls in the box. These boys, they are still young. They couldn't hold and screen the ball. But it happens. It's a lot of positive that we got, which we can take going forward.
Let's talk about those positives that you're taking going forward. Obviously, Coach, you're saying that they're young. What are the big standouts that need to stay embedded within the identity of Zimbabwean football?
I think the fighting spirit was there. The team was playing like a team. We were always organized in terms of defending and attacking, besides the 2 goals that we got the last game. But I think there is a lot of positives.
Alrighty, Coach. Thank you so much. Well, as it stands, it's Comores who are standing with 6 points. Kenya also 6. This is due to goal difference. Zimbabwe 6, and we also have Zambia. Kenya brought in all the excitement. Many people crossing their fingers, hoping to see what exactly is going to happen. Obviously, it is 3 groups within this competition. Only the top groups will go through, and the best third place will then join them to make that top 4 that will be playing and fighting for glory. Kenya packed their bags. Good fight put in, and they bow out.
Just opening the team sheet here. It's better if we color wala.
Thank you, coach.
This game kicks off at 3. Always it must be 1 hour before.
Yo, 18 bandla. 18 ring.
Tina, we the 18 sometimes.
So
Because it is Zimbabwe line.
really? I joined Abarumela research pack ya game. Oh, mutimwak.
Coach.
Yes? Are they talking to me? Ah, Luna.
Right.
I'm saying more what you saying.
Yeah, being melee, no camera, Tina's ready. Okay, tell me when you're ready, no?